The massive ships appeared in Earth's sky like dark clouds blocking out the sun. Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator, watching the blue planet spin slowly below them. His scaled hands gripped the metal rail as he studied the readings on his screen. This world looked so peaceful and quiet that he almost felt sorry for what was about to happen. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 300 worlds in the past, 1,000 years. Each time was the same story. They would arrive with their mighty fleet. The primitive locals would panic and run, and within days the planet would surrender. Earth would be no different. In fact, it might be easier than most. Vextar looked at the old radio signals his intelligence team had collected over the years. The humans were still using basic aircraft and crude weapons that fired metal bullets. Their most advanced technology seemed to be some kind of explosive devices that used chemical reactions. It was almost embarrassing how backward they were. Sub-Commander Kethmer approached with a datapad in his clawed hand. "Sir, our scouts report the humans have no orbital defenses at all. No space stations, no satellite weapons, nothing. They don't even seem to know we're here yet." Vextar nodded slowly. This was exactly what he had expected. The humans were so primitive, they probably thought their atmosphere would protect them from space-based attacks. They had no idea what real galactic warfare looked like. Meanwhile, deep inside a mountain in Colorado, Admiral Katie Sullivan sat in front of dozens of glowing screens. She had been watching the alien fleet for 3 months as they traveled toward Earth. Every move they made, every formation they took, every communication they sent was being recorded and analyzed. Katie had short brown hair and tired eyes from too many sleepless nights. She had been preparing for this day for 15 years, ever since the first alien scout ship had crashed in the Nevada desert. That crash had changed everything for humanity, though most people on Earth still had no idea it had even happened. The secret had been kept by only a few thousand people spread across the globe. They had worked in hidden bunkers and underground facilities, building weapons and defenses that the aliens would never see coming. The old radio signals the aliens had intercepted were fake, broadcast specifically to make Earth look primitive and helpless. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison floated in zero gravity aboard the space station Phoenix 7. From the outside, it looked like just another piece of space junk drifting in Earth's orbit. The aliens had scanned it dozens of times and decided it was just debris from some failed human satellite launch. Jake smiled as he watched the alien fleet positioning themselves exactly where Earth's hidden defense computers had predicted they would. Every move the Zephyrians made followed the same pattern they had used in their last 50 conquests. Humanity had been studying those battles for years, learning every weakness in their tactics. The Phoenix 7 was just one of 37 hidden weapons platforms scattered throughout the solar system. Each one was disguised to look like asteroids, broken satellites, or construction debris. The aliens had no idea they were surrounded by enough firepower to destroy their entire fleet. Lisa Harper worked frantically in her underground laboratory beneath the Nevada desert. She was coordinating with similar hidden bases in Russia, China, Australia, and 12 other countries. The quantum communication network allowed them to share information instantly without the aliens detecting any signals. Lisa had been one of the first scientists to examine the crashed alien ship 15 years ago. The technology inside had been far beyond anything humans had ever seen, but it had also revealed something important. The aliens were not as advanced as they seemed. Their weapons and ships were powerful but simple, designed to work the same way against every enemy they faced. Humanity had spent 15 years preparing for exactly this kind of attack. They had built weapons specifically designed to counter Zephyrian shields and armor. They had studied alien psychology and tactics until they could predict every move. Most importantly, they had learned to hide their true capabilities behind. A mask of primitive technology that the Zephyrian dropships began launching from the main fleet. Vextar watched with satisfaction as hundreds of assault craft headed toward Earth's major cities. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, all would be under Imperial control within hours. The humans would surrender quickly once they saw the hopelessness of their situation. Colonel Ryan Carter crouched in his underground bunker beneath Washington, D.C., watching the alien dropships approach on his hidden sensors. His soldiers were ready in their powered armor suits, weapons charged and targeting systems active. They had been training for this moment for over a decade. Ryan had volunteered for the secret Earth Defense Force the day after the alien crash was discovered. He had given up his old life, his family relationships, even his real name to become part of humanity's hidden army. Like thousands of others around the world, he had sacrificed everything to prepare for this day. The dropships entered Earth's atmosphere, their heat shields glowing as they descended toward the major population centers. The aliens expected to find panicking crowds and helpless military forces firing useless bullets at their advanced armor. Instead, they were about to discover that humanity had been preparing a very different kind of welcome. Captain Amy Rodriguez sat in the cockpit of her stealth fighter, hidden in a mountain hangar in Colorado. Her squadron had been practicing for this battle every day for 5 years. They knew exactly how Zephyrian ships moved, how their weapons worked, and most importantly, how to destroy them. Amy had been a regular Air Force pilot before being recruited into this secret program. She had thought she was joining just another classified project until she saw the alien technology and learned the truth about what was coming. Now she commanded one of Earth's most advanced fighter wings, equipped with weapons the aliens would never expect. General Steve Collins coordinated the global defense from his command ship, hidden in a crater on the far side of the moon. The UES Defiance looked like a mining station from the outside, but it was actually one of humanity's most powerful warships. 36 similar vessels waited in concealment throughout the solar system. Steve had been planning this battle for 15 years, ever since he was put in charge of Earth's secret military program. Every simulation, every training exercise, every piece of equipment had been designed for this exact scenario. The aliens thought they were attacking a primitive world. They were actually walking into the most carefully prepared trap in human history. As the first alien soldiers prepared to land on Earth's surface, they had no idea that every major city had been evacuated through hidden tunnel systems. The buildings they saw were empty shells, and the humans they expected to find cowering in fear were actually waiting in carefully prepared defensive positions with weapons designed specifically to kill Zephyrian warriors. The battle for Earth was about to begin, but it would not be the easy conquest the aliens expected. The first alien dropship touched down in New York Central Park at exactly noon. Sub-Commander Kethmer stepped out onto the grass, expecting to see thousands of screaming humans running in terror. Instead, he found complete silence. The park was empty except for a few birds singing in the trees. Kethmer's soldiers spread out in formation, their plasma rifles ready to fire at any human resistance. They had done this same routine on dozens of worlds, and it always went the same way. The primitives would attack with their crude weapons, the Zephyrians would demonstrate their superior firepower, and the planet would surrender within hours. What Kethmer did not know was that every human in New York had been evacuated 3 months ago through a network of underground tunnels that had been built in secret over the past 10 years. The buildings around Central Park looked normal from the outside, but they were actually empty shells designed to hide the real defensive positions below ground. Colonel Ryan Carter watched the alien landing through hidden cameras placed throughout the city. He was sitting in a bunker 50 feet below the park, surrounded by soldiers wearing advanced powered armor that the aliens had never seen before. Ryan's finger hovered over a red button that would activate the first phase of Earth's counterattack. Alien soldiers began moving toward the surrounding buildings, confident that they would find frightened civilians to capture and interrogate. Their sensors showed normal human heat signatures inside the structures, but these were actually decoy signals generated by hidden transmitters that had been placed there weeks ago. Ryan pressed the button and watched his screens light up with targeting data. Electromagnetic pulse generators, hidden throughout Manhattan, activated simultaneously, sending invisible waves of energy toward the alien forces. The Zephyrian shields flickered and died as their power systems overloaded from the precisely tuned frequency bursts. Kethmer stared in shock as his soldiers' equipment started sparking and shutting down. Their personal shields vanished, their weapons stopped working, and even their communication devices went silent. This was impossible. The humans were supposed to be using primitive technology that could not possibly generate electromagnetic pulses of this sophistication. Captain Amy Rodriguez received the green light signal in her hidden fighter jet. She was flying at 30,000 feet above Manhattan, completely invisible to alien sensors thanks to adaptive camouflage technology that had been reverse engineered from a crashed scout ship 15 years ago. Amy's squadron of 12 fighters had been circling the city for hours, waiting for this moment. Amy dove toward the alien dropships that were still landing in Central Park. Her quantum disruption torpedoes were locked onto targets that had no idea death was coming from above. The aliens had designed their shields to stop primitive kinetic weapons and basic explosives, but they had never encountered weapons that could destabilize matter at the subatomic level. The first torpedo hit a Zephyrian dropship, and the entire craft simply vanished in a flash of blue light. The second and third torpedoes destroyed 2 more ships before the aliens even realized they were under attack. Amy's squadron eliminated 8 dropships in less than 30 seconds, leaving the surviving alien soldiers stranded on the ground, with no way to escape. General Steve Collins coordinated the global response from his command ship on the far side of the moon. Similar attacks were happening simultaneously in London, Tokyo, Moscow, and 50 other major cities around the world. Every alien landing force was walking into carefully prepared traps that had been designed specifically to counter Zephyrian military tactics. Steve had studied recordings of every Zephyrian conquest for the past 15 years. The aliens always used the same strategy: land overwhelming numbers of troops in major population centers, demonstrate superior firepower to break civilian morale, and demand surrender from local governments. It was an effective approach against primitive civilizations, but humanity had been preparing countermeasures for every step of the process. Commander Vextar stood on his flagship's bridge, watching his invasion force get systematically destroyed by an enemy that was supposed to be wielding stone spears and metal clubs. His tactical display showed Zephyrian units disappearing all across the planet as human forces emerged from hiding places that his sensors had never detected. The worst part was that the human weapons seemed specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in Zephyrian technology. Their electromagnetic pulses were tuned to exactly the right frequency to overload Imperial shield generators. Their projectile weapons used exotic materials that could penetrate Zephyrian armor. Their aircraft moved in patterns that made them nearly impossible for Imperial targeting systems to track. Dr. Lisa Harper monitored the battle from her underground command center in Nevada. The quantum communication network was allowing Earth's forces to coordinate their attacks with perfect timing across the entire planet. Every human commander knew exactly what their colleagues were doing in real time. While the aliens were cut off from each other and fighting blind, Lisa smiled as she watched the data streams flowing across her screens. 15 years of preparation were paying off perfectly. The aliens had made the same mistake that conquerors throughout history had always made. They had underestimated their enemy and assumed that primitive appearance meant primitive capabilities. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison activated his weapon systems aboard the hidden space station, Phoenix 7. The alien fleet in orbit was finally starting to realize that something was seriously wrong with their invasion. But they still had no idea that they were surrounded by concealed human weapons platforms. Jake's station looked like space debris to alien sensors, but it was actually equipped with railguns that could fire projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The Zephyrian ships were designed to stop energy weapons and conventional missiles, but they had no defense against solid metal slugs traveling at relativistic velocities. The first railgun shot punched completely through a Zephyrian cruiser, venting atmosphere and debris into space. The second shot destroyed the ship's reactor, creating a brilliant explosion that lit up Earth's night sky. Jake's platform alone eliminated 3 enemy vessels before they even knew where the attacks were coming from. Lucy Turner commanded the asteroid belt defense stations that had been disguised as mining operations for the past 8 years. As the surviving Zephyrian ships tried to retreat from Earth orbit, they found their escape routes blocked by weapons platforms that had been hiding throughout the outer solar system. Lucy had been living in the asteroid belt for 5 years, maintaining the illusion that humans were only conducting primitive mining operations while actually building the most advanced defensive network in the galaxy. Her stations were equipped with weapons that could destroy capital ships from millions of miles away. The Zephyrian fleet that had arrived to conquer a primitive world found itself trapped in a carefully orchestrated killing field. Every move they made had been anticipated, every tactic they tried had been countered, and every weapon they fired was met with superior human technology that should not have existed. Commander Vexstar realized with growing horror that his empire had made a terrible mistake. Earth was not a primitive world full of helpless savages. It was a trap that had been 15 years in the making, and his entire fleet was caught inside it with no way out. Admiral Vexstar slammed his scaled fist against the command console as another one of his ships exploded in the darkness of space. Half of his invasion fleet was already destroyed, and the humans were showing no signs of slowing down their attacks. This was supposed to be an easy conquest of a primitive world, not a massacre of the Zephyrian Empire's finest warriors. Intelligence Officer Zexka approached the Admiral's command chair with trembling hands. She had been analyzing human communication intercepts for the past hour, trying to understand how these primitives had developed such advanced technology so quickly. What she had discovered made no sense according to everything the Empire knew about technological development. The humans were using tactical formations that perfectly countered standard Zephyrian assault doctrines. Their weapons were designed to exploit specific weaknesses in Imperial armor and shields. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to know exactly how Zephyrian forces would respond to each situation, as if they had been studying Imperial military tactics for years. Professor Dan Miller stood before the emergency session of the United Earth Council in the hidden lunar base that had been disguised as a simple mining operation for the past 12 years. The council chamber was carved deep inside the moon's rock, protected by layers of shielding that made it invisible to alien sensors. Dan had been studying the alien genetics and technology recovered from the crashed scout ship since the day it was discovered. He had spent 15 years learning everything possible about Zephyrian biology, psychology, and military doctrine. Now he was finally able to share that knowledge with the world leaders who had been kept in the dark about the true scope of Earth's preparations. The Zephyrian Empire was not just another alien race, Dan explained to the assembled leaders. They were part of a massive galactic civilization that had been conquering primitive worlds for over 1,000 years. The crashed scout ship's computer banks had contained detailed records of hundreds of previous invasions, all following identical patterns. Major Lucy Turner commanded the asteroid belt defense network as Zephyrian ships tried desperately to escape the solar system. Her hidden weapons platforms had been tracking the alien fleet's movements for months, learning their formation patterns and identifying the weak points in their defensive arrangements. Lucy had been living in the artificial gravity chambers of Mining Station Omega-7 for the past 5 years, maintaining the fiction that humans were only capable of basic resource extraction in space. In reality, the station was the command center for a network of weapons platforms that could destroy capital ships from distances the aliens had never imagined possible. The Zephyrian fleet commander was trying to organize a fighting retreat, but his ships were designed for attacking primitive worlds, not for defending against an enemy that understood their capabilities better than they understood themselves. Every maneuver he attempted was anticipated and countered by human forces that seemed to know his next move before he made it. Commander Alex Bennett led the counterattack aboard the UE's Vengeance, one of Earth's secret dreadnoughts that had been constructed in hidden shipyards throughout the outer solar system. The massive vessel had been disguised as a collection of mining equipment and construction debris, invisible to alien sensors until it was time to reveal its true purpose. Alex had been commanding secret Earth Defense Force vessels for 8 years, practicing maneuvers and tactics in the empty regions between planets where alien scouts would never think to look. His crew had trained for this battle every day, studying captured Zephyrian technology and learning how to turn the Empire's own weapons against them. The Vengeance was equipped with weapon systems that combined human innovation with reverse-engineered alien technology. Its main guns fired concentrated plasma bursts that could penetrate any known Zephyrian armor, while its defensive shields were designed to absorb and redirect the energy from Imperial weapons back at their attackers. Dr. Maria Santos sat in her laboratory deep beneath the Antarctic ice, monitoring the interrogation of captured Zephyrian officers who had been taken prisoner during the failed invasion. She had been learning alien languages and psychology for 15 years, preparing for exactly this moment when humanity would finally make contact with the galactic community. Maria's translation computers were processing thousands of hours of intercepted Zephyrian communications that had been collected over the past decade. The aliens had been broadcasting their military reports and tactical discussions without any attempt at encryption, never imagining that the primitive humans might be capable of understanding their language. The intercepted communications revealed the true scope of the Zephyrian Empire's expansion across the galaxy. They had conquered over 300 worlds using identical invasion tactics, overwhelming primitive civilizations with superior numbers and technology before the locals could organize effective resistance. What made the communications so valuable was that they contained detailed after-action reports from every major invasion of the past 50 years. Human analysts had been able to study these reports and identify consistent weaknesses in Zephyrian strategy, tactical doctrine, and equipment design. Captain Helen Parks led boarding parties onto disabled Zephyrian vessels, capturing intact alien technology and computer databases that contained star charts showing the locations of recently conquered worlds. The Imperial fleet had been methodical in their expansion, following predictable routes through space that made their future targets easy to identify. Helen had trained for zero-gravity combat in secret facilities hidden throughout the solar system, learning how to fight in the confined spaces of alien spacecraft. Her teams were equipped with weapons designed specifically for ship-to-ship combat, including electromagnetic scramblers that could disable Zephyrian computer systems without damaging valuable equipment. The captured star charts revealed that the Zephyrian Empire had been expanding along the outer rim of the galaxy, conquering primitive worlds and strip mining their resources before moving on to the next target. Earth had been selected because it appeared to be another helpless civilization that could be easily overwhelmed. Colonel Kevin Johnson coordinated special forces operations across the planet, using captured Zephyrian communication equipment to Send false reports back to the Imperial fleet's distant command stations. The aliens' own communication protocols were being turned against them, buying Earth precious time to consolidate their victory and prepare for whatever response the Empire might send. Kevin's teams had been training in alien technology for years, learning how to operate captured equipment and mimic Zephyrian operational procedures. They were now sending carefully crafted messages that would make the Empire's commanders believe the Earth invasion was proceeding according to plan. The false reports described successful landings and the capture of major human population centers. Exactly what Imperial headquarters would expect to hear from a routine conquest operation. The deception would only work for a limited time, but it would give humanity weeks or even months to prepare for the next phase of the conflict. Frank Davis worked frantically in his laboratory aboard the captured Zephian command ship, trying to adapt alien hyperspace technology to human vessels. The Empire's faster-than-light travel systems were far more advanced than anything humanity had been able to develop, but they operated on principles the human scientists could understand and improve upon. Frank had been reverse engineering alien technology since the original scout ship crash 15 years ago. He had always known that eventually humanity would need to take the fight beyond Earth's solar system, and now that moment had finally arrived. The Zephyrian Empire would not ignore the loss of an entire invasion fleet. Fleet Admiral Tony Brooks stood on the bridge of the U.S. Liberty as humanity's hidden armada emerged from concealment throughout the solar system. For 15 years, Earth had been building warships in secret, disguising them as mining operations and construction projects, while the galaxy remained unaware of their true military capabilities. Tony had commanded Earth's secret space navy since its creation, watching it grow from a handful of experimental vessels to a fleet that could challenge any galactic power. The surviving Zephyrian ships found themselves surrounded by over 200 human warships that had been invisible to their sensors. Until this moment, the human fleet was not just larger than the aliens had expected, it was also equipped with weapons and defensive systems that had been specifically designed to counter Zephyrian technology. Every ship carried electromagnetic pulse generators, quantum disruption torpedoes, and adaptive armor that could absorb and redirect alien energy weapons. Captain Helen Parks led the first boarding assault on the Zephyrian flagship Dominator, where Admiral Vexstar was trapped with his surviving crew. Helen's Marines wore powered armor suits that allowed them to move freely in zero gravity, while carrying weapons that could cut through the strongest alien materials. The boarding operation was not about destroying the alien command ship, but about capturing it intact, along with its computer databases and communication equipment. Helen's teams had trained for this exact scenario using detailed blueprints of Zephyrian vessels that had been reconstructed from the crashed scout ship 15 years ago. Helen's Marines moved through the alien corridors with practiced efficiency, using stun weapons to disable Zephyrian crew members without damaging the valuable equipment around them. The aliens tried to resist, but their personal weapons were no match for human armor that had been designed specifically to stop Zephyrian plasma rifles. Within 2 hours, the Dominator was under human control, and Admiral Vexstar was a prisoner aboard his own flagship. Helen's teams had secured the ship's computer core, navigation databases, and long-range communication systems, providing Earth with a complete picture of Zephyrian Empire operations throughout this sector of the galaxy. Colonel Kevin Johnson worked frantically in the captured alien communication center, using Zephyrian codes and protocols to send false reports to distant Imperial bases. The Empire's communication network was vast and complex, but human cryptographers had been studying it for years and knew exactly how to exploit its weaknesses. Kevin's team was sending messages that made it appear as if the Earth invasion was still proceeding according to plan. Imperial commanders hundreds of light years away were receiving reports of successful landings, captured human cities, and the establishment of occupation zones across the planet. The deception was buying Earth precious time to consolidate their victory and prepare for the inevitable imperial response. Kevin knew that eventually the Empire would realize what had happened, but every day of delay gave humanity more time to strengthen their defenses and expand their capabilities. Dr. Frank Davis led the team of scientists working to adapt captured Zephyrian hyperspace engines to human starships. The alien faster-than-light technology was based on principles that human physicists had theorized about but never been able to implement. Until now, they had working examples to study and reverse engineer. Frank had been preparing for this moment since the original alien crash 15 years ago. He had always known that eventually humanity would need the ability to travel between star systems, and the captured Zephyrian fleet was providing exactly the technology needed to make that possible. The hyperspace engines operated by creating controlled tiers in the fabric of spacetime, allowing ships to travel vast distances in compressed timeframes. Human engineers were already designing modifications that would make the technology more efficient and reliable than the original Zephyrian versions. Senator Nicole Wright addressed the emergency session of the revealed United Earth Parliament, finally able to publicly discuss the secret global government that had been coordinating humanity's preparation for alien contact. The old national government still existed for domestic affairs, but Earth had been united in purpose for over a decade. Nicole had been one of the architects of the secret unification process, working behind the scenes to create the international cooperation that had made Earth's defense possible. The public revelation of the hidden government was shocking to many people, but it explained how humanity had been able to prepare so effectively for the alien invasion. The United Earth Parliament had representatives from every nation and major population center, but they had been meeting in secret for years while maintaining the fiction that Earth was still divided into competing countries. The deception had been necessary to prevent the aliens from realizing that humanity was capable of global coordination. Captain Amy Rodriguez commanded the first human interstellar reconnaissance mission as her squadron of modified fighters prepared to use captured Zephyrian hyperspace technology to travel beyond the solar system. Their mission was to locate other recently conquered worlds and assess the Empire's military strength in nearby star systems. Amy's fighters had been equipped with captured alien navigation computers and communication equipment, allowing them to travel through hyperspace and blend in with Imperial traffic until they could gather intelligence about Zephyrian operations throughout the sector. The reconnaissance mission would provide Earth with crucial information about potential allies among recently conquered worlds, as well as intelligence about Imperial military bases and supply lines that could be targeted in future operations. Maria Santos worked with the captured Zephyrian officers to learn more about the Empire's political structure and military organization. The aliens were initially reluctant to cooperate, but they gradually began to understand that humanity was not the primitive species they had expected to conquer. Maria's interrogations revealed that the Zephyrian Empire was not a unified civilization, but rather a collection of conquered species ruled by a small core of original Zephyrian worlds. Many of the Empire's soldiers and administrators were from recently conquered planets who had been forced into Imperial service. This information was crucial for Earth's strategic planning, as it suggested that the Empire might be more fragile than it appeared. If humanity could liberate recently conquered worlds and turn them against their Imperial masters, the balance of power in the galaxy could shift dramatically. General Steve Collins coordinated the establishment of Earth's first permanent military bases beyond the solar system, using captured Zephyrian ships and equipment to create hidden staging areas in asteroid fields and uninhabited star systems throughout the local sector. Steve had been planning this expansion for years, knowing that Earth's defense would eventually require the ability to project military power across interstellar distances. The captured alien technology was making that expansion possible far sooner than anyone had expected. The forward bases would serve as supply depots, communication relays, and staging areas for future operations against Zephyrian targets. They would also provide early warning of any Imperial counterattacks directed at Earth, giving humanity time to prepare their defenses. Within weeks of the failed invasion, Earth had transformed from a hidden backwater world into an active participant. In galactic affairs, the Zephyrian Empire was about to discover that conquering humanity had been the biggest mistake in their 1,000-year history of expansion. Emperor Thaxron sat on his crystal throne in the heart of the Zephyrian capital world, staring at the holographic display that showed the complete destruction of Sector Fleet 7. An entire battle group of 300 ships had been wiped out by a species that, his intelligence reports, claimed was still using primitive chemical weapons and metal projectiles. The Emperor's scaled hands gripped the armrests of his throne as he tried to understand how such a disaster could have occurred. For over 1,000 years, the Zephyrian Empire had expanded across the galaxy without encountering a single species capable of meaningful resistance. Every conquest had followed the same pattern. Arrive, demonstrate superior firepower, accept surrender, strip the planet of resources, and move on to the next target. War Master Kel Thoner approached the throne with trembling steps, carrying data. Crystals containing the final transmissions from the destroyed fleet. The reports made no sense according to everything the Empire knew about technological development and military strategy. The humans had not just defeated a Zephyrian invasion force. They had systematically destroyed it, using weapons and tactics that suggested decades of preparation. Admiral Katie Sullivan stood in the command center of the newly constructed Earth Defense Headquarters, located in a massive orbital station that had been built using captured Zephyrian technology combined with human innovation. The station served as the coordination center for humanity's rapidly expanding military operations throughout the local sector of the galaxy. Katie had been promoted Supreme Commander of all Earth Defense Forces after her successful coordination of the planet's defense against the alien invasion. She now commanded not just Earth's original hidden fleet, but also dozens of captured Zephyrian vessels that had been modified with human technology and crewed by volunteers from around the world. The transformation of Earth's military capabilities had been remarkable to witness. In less than 6 months, humanity had gone from a secretly prepared defensive force to an active interstellar power capable of projecting military strength across multiple star systems. The captured alien technology had accelerated human development. By centuries, General Peter Clark led the Liberation Fleet toward Kepler 442b, where Zephyrian forces had established a slave labor operation to extract rare minerals from the ocean floor. The planet's native population was an aquatic species that had been conquered only months before Earth's successful defense, making them perfect candidates for humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. Peter's task force consisted of 20 human warships and 15 captured Zephyrian vessels that had been modified with Earth technology. The mixed fleet was a symbol of humanity's new approach to galactic warfare. Use the enemy's own weapons and ships against them while adding human innovation to create superior fighting capabilities. The liberation of Kepler 442b would serve multiple purposes for Earth's expanding strategy. It would demonstrate to other conquered species that resistance against the Empire was possible, provide humanity with valuable allies and resources, and establish Earth's reputation as a protector of freedom throughout the galaxy. Dr. Rachel Stone led the diplomatic mission that followed Peter's military forces to Kepler 442b, carrying proposals for the Terran Protection Pact that would offer Earth's military expertise and advanced technology to recently conquered worlds in exchange for mutual defense agreements and resource-sharing arrangements. Rachel had been studying alien cultures and languages since the original scout ship crashed 15 years ago, preparing for the day when humanity would need to communicate with other galactic civilizations. Her team of linguists and cultural experts had developed translation protocols for over 50 different alien languages discovered in captured Zephyrian databases. The Terran Protection Pact was designed to create a network of allied worlds that could support each other against imperial aggression while maintaining their independence and cultural identity. Unlike the Zephyrian Empire's conquest and exploitation model, Earth offered partnership and mutual benefit to potential allies. Commander Chris Taylor patrolled the outer rim of human-controlled space aboard the U's Guardian, one of the new generation of warships that had been designed entirely with human innovation rather than captured alien technology. The Guardian represented humanity's evolution from reverse engineering alien systems to creating original designs that surpassed Imperial capabilities. Chris had been commanding patrol vessels for the past 2 years, protecting Earth's expanding sphere of influence from Imperial raiders and scouts while establishing communication links with isolated worlds that might be interested in joining the growing alliance against Zephyrian expansion. The Guardian was equipped with weapon systems that combined human creativity with the best features of captured alien technology. Its engines were more efficient than Zephyrian designs, its weapons were more accurate, and its defensive systems could adapt to new threats in real time, using artificial intelligence systems that the Empire had never developed. The aquatic beings of Kepler 442b welcomed Earth's liberation forces with desperate gratitude, having endured months of brutal exploitation under Zephyrian occupation. Their advanced underwater cities had been converted into mining camps, and their population had been reduced to slave labor for Imperial resource extraction operations. Peter's forces made quick work of the Zephyrian garrison, which had been reduced to a skeleton crew after most Imperial troops were recalled to deal with human activities in other systems. The liberation took less than 12 hours, and within days the planet's original government was restored with Earth's full support and protection. The successful liberation of Kepler 442b sent shockwaves throughout the local sector as news spread that the supposedly invincible Zephyrian Empire could be defeated and their conquests reversed. Dozens of recently conquered worlds began sending secret communications to Earth, requesting information about the Terran Protection Pact and assistance with their own liberation efforts. Emperor Faxron received reports of the Kepler 442b liberation with growing alarm. The humans were not content with simply defending their own world. They were actively working to undermine Imperial control throughout the sector. Even worse, they seemed to understand Zephyrian military procedures and weaknesses better than some Imperial commanders. The Emperor's military advisors recommended immediate retaliation against Earth, but the logistical challenges were enormous. The nearest major Imperial fleet was 6 months away, and recent reports suggested that human forces were actively hunting isolated Zephyrian ships throughout the region. For the first time in centuries, the Zephyrian Empire found itself forced to consider negotiation rather than conquest as a means of resolving the conflict. The humans had demonstrated that they possessed both the military capability and the strategic intelligence necessary to pose a genuine threat to Imperial expansion. Rachel Stone's diplomatic team established the first formal contact between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire when they intercepted an Imperial negotiation request sent through captured communication channels. The Emperor was finally ready to acknowledge that humanity was not a primitive species that could be easily conquered. The negotiation would mark the beginning of a new era in galactic politics, with Earth emerging as a major power capable of challenging Imperial dominance and protecting smaller civilizations from conquest and exploitation. The galaxy would never again underestimate the species from the small blue planet. That had turned an expected easy victory into the Empire's greatest defeat.